Stellantis saying it is moving production of its Jeep Compass from Ontario to the United States, and the automaker had previously paused production at that facility in Brampton in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs.
Lashing out at Stellantis today, the automaker says it's reneging on plans to make Jeeps in Brampton, Ontario, and moving production to the U.S.
Investing $13 billion in the U.S.
Canada just got hit by a $13 billion reality check as Stellantis packs up Jeep production in Brampton and ships it straight to the U.S. And the moment the news hit, Ontario's Premier Doug Ford basically snapped, calling Trump a real piece of work and demanding Canada finally grow a spine and fight back. This isn't just one factory, it's the first domino, and if Canada blows this, the collapse won't stop here.
Well, it's a punch in the gut. 3,000 jobs at Stellantis with Unifor Local 1285, highly trained, highly skilled, spent decades working, dedicating their lives to this plant.
Stellantis didn't announce anything. It detonated a bomb in Brampton at 4:59 p.m. and walked away like nothing happened. 1 minute, workers were being told for months that the Jeep Compass and the next model were locked in, secure, part of the future, and the next minute, boom. Production is being hauled across the border to the United States because tariffs suddenly make Canada not economically feasible. That's corporate speak for, we're chasing cheaper politics, not honoring decades of loyalty.
But again, his words, not mine, but it's everyone in the world. He goes, there's uncertainty. Until we see a deal made between Canada and the U.S.
This isn't some aging plant or failing operation. This is a facility that has built cars for over 40 years and pumped billions in profit into Stellantis, only to be treated like a disposable rental property the second Washington waived tariff leverage. And the message was delivered with all the grace of a drive-by. No sit-down, no consultation, no negotiation, just an email and a press release. Canada didn't just get blindsided. It got humiliated, and that's why the country erupted.
The behavior is really disrespectful and disgusting by the company to change their course and invest $13 billion in the U.S., so we're very concerned.
Stellantis didn't just hint at staying. They explicitly promised Brampton the Jeep Compass and the next product allocation as recently as February. The plant had already gone through a retooling pause based on those commitments, and workers accepted layoffs and income disruption because they were told the jobs were coming back. Provincial and federal governments also backed that promise. ORS, public money, incentives, and political guarantees were tied to keeping production in Brampton.
As Stellantis moves production of the Jeep Compass south of the border. The news comes as a major blow to the families of those impacted, to the local economy, and to the province's auto sector.
So when Stellantis suddenly said the Compass is moving to the U.S., it wasn't just a business adjustment, it was a direct reversal of every assurance made to 3,000-plus workers, their families, suppliers across Peel region, and the governments that invested taxpayer dollars into the plant. This is why the mood isn't just anger, it's betrayal. The company asked for patience, loyalty, and trust. And the moment U.S. tariff incentives shifted, they torched those commitments like they meant nothing.
We can produce the best vehicles anywhere in the entire world, right here in Ontario.
Despite that, Stellantis will move production of the Jeep Compass from its Brampton assembly plant to Illinois.
Brampton is being told to wait and understand the tariffs, while Stellantis sends $13 billion in new investment to the U.S., reopening the Belvidere, Illinois plant and moving the Compass there, the same model they promised to Brampton. And the insult is brutal. Canada helped fund Stellantis' EV transition with subsidies, retooling support, and battery investment. Canada paid to modernize the production line, and now the U.S. gets the jobs, the output, and the future growth. Canada financed the upgrades. America gets the payoff.
Halted work at the plant in February amid Trump's tariff threats.
This is not. Search market conditions changing. This is a strategic relocation of value, from Ontario to the United States. Because Washington made it more expensive not to, and Stellantis responded exactly the way the tariff math told it to. Follow the pressure, move the jobs, pretend the promises never existed. This didn't happen in a vacuum. Washington has been clear since January that it wants auto production pulled back into the United States. Not suggested, not hinted, stated outright. The message to the auto industry is simple: build in America or pay for it. And that message is backed by tariffs on Canadian autos, steel, and aluminum, making it more expensive to produce in Ontario and sell into the U.S. market.
The Brampton plant open, no matter what. He's given me his word.
The Premier said he wouldn't be giving the company any provincial funding as a result of the decision.
Stellantis didn't move because Brampton failed. Stellantis moved because the U.S. government financially rewarded them for leaving Canada. When the tariffs changed, the math changed. And when the math changed, the compass crossed the border. Canada didn't lose this fight in the factory. Par recourse, it lost it in the trade table. And that's why Ontario Premier Doug Ford is not whispering about this. He's publicly blasting the White House, calling it a real piece of work, because the U.S. tariff doctrine isn't an economic strategy. It's a magnet dragging manufacturing south and leaving Canada with the short end of the deal. So now the question hanging over the entire country is simple. If Canada can't protect Brampton, who's next?
We can produce the best vehicles anywhere in the entire world, right here in Ontario.
Doug Ford didn't tiptoe around this. He went on camera and said it straight. The U.S. tariff play is dragging Canadian jobs across the border, and Canada needs to stop acting shocked and start acting strategically. He called it a real piece of work, not out of emotion, but because this is the exact outcome Washington has been openly pushing for, bringing the auto-making supply chain home to the U.S. And guess what? It's working. Ford is now telling Ottawa and every Canadian politician who wants to pretend everything is fine to wake up and fight back. Not with speeches, not with symbolic statements, but with leverage. Canada is not some powerless bystander. It controls aluminum, critical minerals, energy inputs, cross-border transportation corridors, and market access the U.S. needs. Ford's message is basically, stop begging, start bargaining.
The Premier says until Prime Minister Carney makes a deal with President Trump, the uncertainty of the tariffs will keep pushing companies away.
I am sick and tired of sitting and rolling over. We need to fight back.
Because if Canada responds weakly, automakers will copy-paste this playbook. Say reassuring things, accept Canadian subsidies, wait for U.S. tariff incentives to spike, then shift production south, and leave Canada holding the empty factory. And Ford is right about one thing. Once this becomes normal, it's over. The union calls this the first domino because the Brampton plant isn't just one workplace. It is part of a regional manufacturing network that supports over 125,000 direct auto jobs and more than 400,000 indirect jobs across Ontario. Brampton alone has over 3,000 Stellantis workers, but the plant's output sustains hundreds of small and mid-sized suppliers in Peel, Vaughan, Milton, Windsor, and Oakville, such from stamping and casting shops to interior parts producers and robotics maintenance firms. When one major assembly plant loses a product line, those suppliers don't sit still. They follow the production to where the contracts go.
Stellantis is not honoring legally binding commitments it made to maintain a Canadian footprint, including in Brampton. She is considering legal action.
And Stellantis isn't just moving the compass. They are reopening the Belvidere, Illinois plant with a massive chunk of the $13 billion U.S. investment package, meaning the jobs, purchase orders, trucking routes, and supplier contracts tied to Brampton are now at risk of being rebid into the United States. If Brampton loses long-term product allocation, Windsor's minivan line becomes vulnerable, GM Oshawa's truck output becomes negotiable, and the entire Ontario auto corridor shifts from stable industrial backbone to exposed bargaining chip. That's why the reaction has been so intense. People aren't reacting to emotion. They're reacting to the real structure of the supply chain. Once a major anchor plant moves, the rest follow the money.
Our members are concerned, our members are upset, our members are worried, and the company said this all has to do with tariffs. A $13 billion investment into the U.S. Speaks volumes, and tariffs is what they're saying it has to do.
For the workers on the floor, this isn't theory or forecasting. It's their paychecks, mortgages, and stability on the line. Many of these workers already lived through the retooling shutdown, accepted layoffs, and took reduced income because Stellantis repeatedly told them the Compass and the next model were secured. 3,000 plus families made financial and life decisions based on those commitments. And these aren't new hires. Some of these workers have 10, 20, even 30 years in the plant, building the same company's profit quarter after quarter. Now, with production shifting, the question isn't just, will the plant stay open? It's, will there be anything to come back to? Outside the plant walls, the impact is immediate. Auto jobs aren't isolated. They are spending jobs. When a plant slows down, restaurants, barber shops, car dealerships, local construction firms, machine repair contractors, even municipal tax revenue start to feel the hit. It spreads faster than most people realize. The workers don't just lose shifts. The city loses momentum.
Supports an entire community. It's not just the members here. We keep talking about 3,000 jobs. The reality is that the impact, to the broader economy, is more like...
This is why the union isn't asking for sympathy. They're demanding action. Because if Brampton doesn't get a replacement product line assigned fast, workers aren't just worried about layoffs. They're worried about displacement, being forced to relocate, change sectors, or leave manufacturing entirely. And once those skills scatter, you don't rebuild that workforce. When an auto assembly plant shifts production, the impact doesn't stay inside the factory. It spreads through the entire region. Brampton's Stellantis plant is a major anchor in Ontario's auto manufacturing corridor. And when an anchor weakens, the whole supply system starts to tilt. The plant supports over 100 feeder companies in parts, stamping, seat manufacturing, plastics, electronics, welding automation, paint systems, maintenance, and freight logistics. Those companies, in turn, support trucking fleets, warehouses, machine repair shops, uniform suppliers, industrial cleaning firms, and specialty contractors. This is what economists call industrial clustering. And when one core link moves, the cluster moves with it.
A desperate time, and it would be beneficial for the general public to understand that there's many spin-off jobs will be lost that are...
The city feels it immediately. Brampton receives millions in municipal tax revenue tied to plant operations and payroll. Local businesses rely on auto worker spending. Restaurants, gyms, grocery stores, barbers, daycares, everything. Even housing stability ties into manufacturing wages. When a plant's future becomes uncertain, real estate confidence drops because workers don't take on 25-year mortgages when the next year isn't guaranteed. And politically, the stakes are even higher. If Canada loses Brampton as a reliable production hub, the Ontario Auto Belt begins to look optional instead of permanent, which is exactly how industry relocation starts in other countries that lost auto manufacturing strength.
Kuzma deal, how do you figure any company can figure it out? It's the uncertainty that President Trump...
The union isn't begging, protesting, or pleading. They're laying down terms. Their position is clear. If automakers want to sell vehicles in Canada, they must build vehicles in Canada. The demand is a build here to sell here rule, the same standard the US is now enforcing. They're calling for a zero-tariff trade deal that removes the cost advantage of shifting production across the border. In other words, level the playing field, so Canadian production isn't punished for existing outside US tariff protection.
Make a deal with Canada. Make a deal with your largest customer, and things get things back to normal. And what we're going to do, and this is really important when I sit down with the Prime Minister...
The union is done with Canada reacting piece by piece. They want Ottawa to use its real leverage: aluminum, steel, critical minerals, and cross-border energy, the same way workers use strike power, not politely, but strategically. So now it comes down to one decision. Canada either uses its leverage, or more plants are going to follow the jobs south. What are your opinions about it?